So I'm fairly busy with Ferguson 20 diesel, but I'm waiting for parts at the moment. So I said I just wanted to do a small job on this gold belly again. So this governor push rod, if you look where it's attached to the governor lever there, there's a rod there that the spring goes around. Now what's happening here is when you lift the throttle, I'll try and do this with one hand, try and hold the torch so it comes up off the governor lever and the spring pulls it, right? When you put it back down, as you can see there, it's after going behind the governor lever, and what happens is you're trying to slow down the engine for a bit of engine braking. We'll say if you're coming up to a junction or whatever on the road, or you have to stop, and that isn't returning the governor back to where it's meant to be, and that isn't slowing the engine down, so it's gone down behind it again. And then if you keep doing it, then eventually it will actually it'll hit the governor rod and it'll push it down. So that's not good enough really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off that governor rod. I'm going to I've tried to get a new one of these springs now, and I failed from a local tractor part supplier, so I know they can be got. So, but for the meantime, considering the new spring is probably going the same weight, I'm going to try and fit something around the bottom of that to keep it a bit more aligned with this governor shaft, governor lever maybe we'll call it, not shaft. So that's what I'm planning on doing, and maybe even tidying up the slot there to kind of maybe file a bit more of a V slot in it to help it kind of catch each side of that governor rod. So I'm going to remove that now and see what I can do with it. So there's the governor rod out, and I've taken this bit of plastic. I'm going to cut off the threaded end and fit this into it and try for a fit in the spring, just so to see if it'll help. But I'm only after thinking I have another one of these and a spare spring in my spare parts box, so I'll go and take them first so I can check this for a fit in the spring, because it's a little bit awkward with the dynamo and the dynamo bracket on to be trying it for a fit in there, and you can't. I find it very hard to take the spring out. It's nearly impossible without taking off the dynamo bracket. So to save all that, I'll go and get my spare spring. So this is my spare governor rod with spring, so I'll take that spring off and I'll be able to use it to help measure up a bit of a sleeve over that. So this is what I'm going for. It's a clear kind of a plastic tube. Now it is proven a little bit difficult to get in there because this spring is pushing it and the bottom of the tube is getting caught the far side of the spring. Now look, if worst comes to worst, worst case scenario, I'll just pull off the dynamo and I'll get a better access into it. But I'll try and play with it here now to get it on, and we'll see. If it fits, I'll take it out and grease it, and well, if it's working well enough, I'll grease it and we'll take it from there. So I've that sleeve put on there, so it's clear, and it doesn't seem to be holding the spring or catching it at all. So I'm happy. We don't want it to hold it. The spring has to be free to move, so I'm going to take it off again now and just grease in there and make sure it's even freer. And I'll fit it then and attach on the little the ball kind of joint on the end of it and reset it. So that's the whole lot put back together. I had to just remove the dynamo bracket just a little bit out of the way. So that's the sleeve in there. It's greased up, and now when it's revved, it lifts up as it did and as it should. When it comes back down, it seems to be more aligned to the governor. It's after missing it there, is it? It seems to be working a good bit. Oh, it's missing it there a little bit. So what I might do is I'm just going to pinch that spring, and I think what's happening is it's letting it go in a bit there. Yeah, if I pinch that and help line it up a that bit more, that should help things. So I'll just give that a quick pinch. And one other thing you want to do when you have your dynamo bracket off, get a bit of sandpaper. The earth for the dynamo comes through the block, so you want to make sure your bracket is nice and clean and your block as well. No high spots, no lumps of grease, dirt, whatever, nice and flat. And likewise on this, there was a big lump of metal, I don't know why, sticking out of there. So I'm after scratching that off and just making sure everything is nice and shiny here to make the best collection. That'll help with our charging system then as well. So, takes seconds, nothing more than seconds, but at least you can say then, you know it's good, because a lot of time people respray engines and they fit back on the dynamo bracket over paint, and this is painted and they wonder why their charging system isn't working. So let's put this back on and just give it one more check and make sure everything is lining up well. So that seems to have helped, so I'll give it a start here. Nice low 450 rev per minute tick over. I wouldn't like it to go much lower. The engine kind of struggles when it gets lower, and then you're compensating for it then by richening the mixture. About 500 revs seems to be the sweet spot on these engines. And it stopped a lot of that spitting as well out the exhaust. I think a lot of that was down to air getting in through the gasket between the carb and the intake manifold. So I'm happy with that. Small little job, but something that'll hopefully help. I did notice when I was coming, say, trying to come to a stop, and I was expecting the engine slowing down to give me engine braking. When I wasn't actually going back to a low tick over, what was happening was you know, you didn't have the same engine braking. It was often ticking over about 800 revs per minute, so you're relying that bit more on the brakes and stuff. And as much as the brakes are very good, it'd still be nice to have it working right. These are just so worn at this stage. Well, this particular tractor isn't too worn, but you know, every single time that throttle is pulled, it was working that throttle mechanism in there. So still have to do a bit of work on the governor, so I have to take it up the road. There's a big hill, and I'll use that hill to help me load the engine a bit and hopefully set the governor. So that's something I will do down the road. I am going to do a 3-month review on the ownership of this. I did say I'd give myself 3 months on it as a summer project, and I do plan on making a short video on just my opinion on it, what I want to do with it going forward. Do I want to strip it fully, paint it, sandblast it, all that, or do I want to keep it in its working clothes and focus more on mechanical stuff? So that will be coming up, and in the meantime I am going to get back to my Ferguson 20 diesel project. Just waiting on parts so I can start fitting bearings and all of that. So that'll be challenging enough, and shimming them up and all of that, but that's coming up as well. So the next video will most likely be about that project.